Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. We ended up postponing over the holidays, but we are back and we are ready to play. The campaign is Horror on the Orient Express. It's available from Chaosium. I'm the Keeper of the Secrets, and this is episode 6. Our recap will be given by Stuart Lively as his character, Theodore Thursby III. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Stuart?
Thank you, Tom. We were in search of the Sedefkar Simulacron, a dangerous artifact, a statue that had been broken up and distributed across Europe. We were sent by Professor Julian Smythe, who managed to escape being burned alive rather than reveal what he knew. Dr. Dabrowski was called away to Scotland, but he would rejoin us soon. We then traveled from England to France. In Paris, the air was getting quite chilly. It was January 1923, and snow was in the forecast within a week or so. Our research assistant, Remy, had worked hard digging up more information for us at the Bibliothèque Nationale Paris. After lunch, we met up with him and reviewed. First primary discovery, a damaged journal of Mademoiselle de Brienne, 1789, mentioning Vicomte Geneviève in a bizarre light, one showing him of seductive extravagance, yet later connected to scandal, getting him arrested by the king's soldiers. The second piece discovered, damaged journal from Dr. Lucien Rigault of the same year, 1789. In it, he mentions many bodies being moved to the catacombs of Paris, and what seems like the Vicomte Genevieve's body was put there as well. We later descended into those very catacombs, going in our best educated guess of a direction to search for the Vicomte's body in hopes of securing any additional clue, while Remy continues his research. Deep within, we met a peculiar gentleman of canine and cadaverous resemblance, dressed in an old, tattered, perhaps pre-Napoleonic uniform. It struggled to speak with us. He recalled his name to be Guillaume, but offered little engagement, leaping away deeper into the catacombs. After leaving, we headed over to the military museum, where we gain even more tidbits of research from Remy. The journal of Philip Blanc, again from 1789, indicated that after a struggle resulting in Vicomte Genevieve's mansion burning down, the king's court found the Vicomte to be mad and afflicted with excessive, decadent, and horrible behaviors. He was sentenced to rot in the Charenton Asylum. In another journal of the same period, it mentioned that the raid on the Vicomte's estate revealed a horrific array of torture devices in the cellar, along with many deranged party attendees. We turned our attention to researching the location of the Vicomte's estate and the Charenton's Asylum to continue our investigations there.
So, as you are all planning out what you're going to do at the hotel, there is a knock at your door.
Who is it?
I'll walk over and look through the little peephole, see if we.
It's Dr. Dorian Dabrowski.
Oh, it's this guy. Open up the door. It's like, Dorian, you were able to locate us. Come in.
Hello. It's been a while. It's good to see you.
How was Scotland?
It was hell, but it's okay. I'm okay. Everything went well.
Good to see you, old man. Here, have a glass of wine.
You know how to speak good words. I take the wine and I down the wine. Yes, how is everything? Have I missed anything of importance of your journey?
Well, it's hard to say if its importance is. We've hit some tempting leads, but we need to go into it. Unfortunately, we've also run into some dead ends, so to speak, but that's to be expected trying to find something from so long ago in these modern times.
That's very true indeed. Well, hopefully we can get more into this. And maybe my fresh pair of eyes can help.
Yes, well, we have. I think we have 2 solid leads at the moment.
Yeah, we have several interesting documents that we have photostatic copies of. We have hired a research assistant from the bibliothèque who has proven to be most efficient. It seems as though someone who is a probable match for a missing Vicomte Genevieve had his house in Poissy burnt to the ground by the authorities, was taken away to the asylum at Charenton, and perhaps murdered on official in unofficial capacities, perhaps, and thrown into the catacomb where have you read any text about the existence of creatures called ghouls?
I have not, no.
No. Then
Well, I've heard things I don't. Some things I stay away from. I've had variations on them, I guess, but not specifically on ghouls.
yeah, let's say I'm not interested to go into the catacombs again very soon. Somewhat troubling experience. Did you run across any real or pretend Turks in Scotland, or have you been unmolested for your own?
I had my own troubles with young folk wanting to be better than they are. They're stubborn and cocky, but I had some help from young, like-minded individuals. But we came to see eye to eye after a while. It was I don't like Scotland. It's a bit too hilly for my liking, and the weather's. I'm used to cold weather, but the rain gets a bit too much for me up there. And the animals, too many.
I have been cogitating about our next adventure regarding the Vicomte's possible ownership of a piece of the simulacrum.
Yes.
I wonder whether we should go directly to the town of Poissy, because a piece of statuary is more likely to survive a fire in a building than it is to survive being put in a madhouse for some time.
Yeah, especially in the cellar. I mean, it seems like that might have escaped the burning if it was a purely stone cellar indeed.
I mean, it could have escaped the burning, but if it was still at the estate, I hope it's still there. I mean, it's been a long time.
Indeed.
You don't know if anybody during the revolution or otherwise pillaged the place any further, but where is this? How far away is the estate, and how as compared to the asylum?
The asylum is in southeast London on the outskirts.
You mean
And
Paris?
back in London, Paris.
I'm sorry, in Paris. Paris. And Poissy is about 2 hours in the opposite direction, northwest, along the Seine. Is it?
Yeah. Heading.
Okay.
Right.
So I think we're already here in Paris. We could pay a visit to the asylum.
Yeah.
then
Agreed.
head out because it's January 12th. It's a Friday. We could go.
Did we get a sense? I'm trying to recall. Did we get a sense from the documentation that the Viscount's estate was not just burned but plundered? Was there someone who would have reaped and robbed the place before it fell to fire? Did we get a sense of that, or no? Other than it being more of an execution kind of thing.
I think your research assistant Remy is looking to see if he can find an inventory of confiscated items.
Okay.
It's highly likely that the police would have confiscated any object of art that they found, unless it did seem like they went into the basement and it was so horrific they just set fire to the whole building. So they might have gotten some of it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I was trying to get a sense if there was some kind of mastermind collector or something who was behind it or not. But okay.
Yeah,
they were horrified in the journals of what they found down there.
It makes me curious just what they could have found that would make them so shocked. I mean, the time period. I mean, 1789. I mean, with ideas of the Enlightenment, such religious fervor, I think, was beginning the wane that we see in our own time of kind of a lack of religious faith. But I don't know.
The Viscount seemed to inspire very strong feelings among people, both positively and negatively.
Yes.
He was not one for subtleties.
That and say you're also at 1789. The common man despised the aristocracy at that time. That's right on the cusp of the revolution.
Yeah.
Not if, because I think we are going to go. If we go to the asylum, for what is our purpose? What do we tell people when we get there? Is it research of records? Surely it's not to visit anyone.
Right. I mean, there'd be no reason to lie. I don't know why they would hide anything from us.
Right. So we're there to do historical research and request permission to look at their records. Hopefully they are kept there on site. So, all right.
Yeah, we could mention a range of dates that we're interested in. We could even mention the name.
I mean, I think the more details we give them, the better. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't see a reason to be to obscure our purposes with the asylum staff. But
the only thing we might wish to be sensitive about is that we are not entirely certain that he wasn't the victim of an extrajudicial assassination, and to imply that happened on the premises might be tactless.
Yes.
Although
it could be, but that was a few republics ago too. I mean, that was even pre.
It may be handy. It may be handy if one of us was maybe doing research for a book or something. Someone who could come across as an author, a writer of sorts. Gunther, I think you strike the perfect air for that.
I could be more of making a film, a film about our researches on it. Yeah,
perfect,
fantastic.
My concern, I agree that the madhouse is much closer to get to today, but if we wish to make inquiries at a public office in Poissy, we might find that we are forced to wait until Monday for this.
And today is
Friday.
Well, we could divide and conquer.
Yes. I don't mind. If we do divide and conquer, I don't mind going to the asylum. I do have a background in alienism, so could be some insights from that perspective.
I think that would be excellent. I would feel comfortable going in either direction. Maybe my medical background could help open and grease some doors at the asylum, or possibly some of my personal influence may or may not, though doubtful, have some kind of sway with any kind of public records office in Boise. So I'm happy to join either team.
Yeah, I think at first it would make sense for you with proper papers to go to the madhouse, but then we are not entirely certain that there aren't remains in what is left of the chateau, as there was some implication that not everyone in the cellars left before they set the place ablaze. So having forensic expertise might be useful.
I can go to Boise.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
Me and Gunther can, and whoever else can deal with the madhouse.
Okay, who's going to go to the madhouse? Who's going to go to Boise?
Dorian and myself. Anyone want to join us? Or are you off on another expedition there, Theodore?
I think I'm going to head to Boise. So there's several directions we need to go there. Not only the estate itself, but any local Hall of Records. So there'll be plenty to do there.
So both doctors and Theodore and Gabriel are going to go to Boise.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think there's going to be more things the more eyes at Boise, I think, will be better than at the asylum.
It doesn't have to be a 50-50 split.
No.
We can go 60-40.
No. I mean, we're going to an asylum. We don't need as many numbers there.
No, we'll be fine.
Nothing could go wrong.
And
Exactly.
Gunther, as my father used to believe, as he was an alienist himself, he used to say they're not mad, they're just possessed by the devil.
What's that all?
That is
I mean, if
not
it's-
comforting.
I mean, if it's possession you want to talk about, that's more in my realm of study, but
But
I don't think it's going to be particularly relevant.
no, I do not. And my father was not a nice man, but
Mm.
it's always something that I remember.
Okay, so you're making your plans to go. How about your plans to come back? What are you going to do, or
Well,
which job do you think is going to take longer?
Boise.
Definitely the Boise. I mean, I'd imagine that at the asylum we wouldn't be there more than 4 or 5 hours. I mean, which is just travel time for them. 2 hours there and 2 hours
And
back.
after the asylum, Dorian and Gunther could catch up with our research assistant and
Yeah,
see if there was anything that came up from
Yes, it might
his work
be an
today.
idea for me to meet Remy, as I have not met
Oh,
Remy
he's,
yet. Okay, good.
he's wonderful. And since it's going into the weekend, we definitely would want to get an update. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. We'll meet up with Remy.
Do you think
All
it's efficient to hire a car for traveling to Poissy, and then we decide if we come back, or find an inn there to stay?
No, I think
There are
it'd be better if
probably
we had
little
our own
trains that are-
transportation.
Yeah, so we can get around our own accord.
All right. All right. So let's say a little time goes by in the day and you guys are off in your different directions. Let's go ahead and do the asylum. So Gunter and Dr. Dabrowski, you travel on, you're probably taking a cab or something like that to get there.
Mhm.
The asylum is a very imposing sort of place. Do you do any research beforehand to know who you're going to talk to or anything like that?
Yes, I probably would. Yeah,
All
I
right.
wouldn't
There was
just.
the question of having a new head that Remy brought up, that there had been a change in authority there. He was even going to look for a newspaper, I think, about that.
Did you want to check with him first?
Yeah. Now that
All right.
her doctor reminded us of that.
Okay. So you go by and check on Remy. He's been busy looking, but he thinks that some of the leads are drying up at this point, and he's not finding much more. So much was lost during the revolution. He did, however, find that that newspaper article that he had mentioned, and he shows this to you. There was a recent changeover of directorship.
Thank you, Remy. Charnton Asylum mourns director's passing. We mourn the loss of our esteemed director, Dr. Ethan Delplace, a man of the highest professional standards and a true pioneer in the field of neurology. His loss by tragic accident comes as a great blow. We at the hospital extend our heartfelt sympathies to his family, hoping that they may overcome their grief in time. Dr. Delplace will be missed by the Charenton community, Paris at large, the glorious nation of France, and civilized men everywhere. Dr. Francois Leroux, acting director, January 1923.
Just from a few days ago.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Doesn't it seem?
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, some of the people there's been a few tragic accidents that I'm not.
Until there is always a tragic accident.
What was the new director's name? I was reading, I didn't get it written down.
Francois Delarue.
Delarue.
Or Francois Leroux, sorry.
All right.
Okay. On everything. So as you are driving along, you end up on what seems almost like a little country road. The asylum is very large, and it is isolated by some distance just from the locals. And it looks like this. It's also got a picture of the new director. Multiple floors. It's a big place.
It is rather imposing.
Magnificent.
It's not. It's in fairly decent upkeep. Of course, it's winter, so the grass is kind of brown and everything is falling apart. There's a special place for visitors to park, and you can see that the security is fairly high. There are people in white coats here and there throughout. There seems to be a place over towards the side where some of the patients who are not as bad can walk around in a park-like setting, but they're all being watched.
Right.
The low care patients.
Right, the low care ones. And you can see where the entrance is.
Well, let's head on in.
Is this Gunther? Have you been to an asylum before?
I have not. I've been to hospitals, but never to a mental hospital. So
I just, treated like going to a normal hospital. Just a few people who might say weird things to you. It's normal. Don't worry. We'll be fine.
I was not worried.
Some people are when they first come to an asylum and see people who talk to themselves or say weird things or throw things at others that may not appreciate.
All right. Well,
so
now you're making me worried.
You step inside the front lobby, and you can hear people howling, yes, in the back, like wild animals.
Oh my goodness.
Not quite.
I said they're crazy.
You detect almost immediately a smell.
Like that ammonia.
Well, yeah, they do their best to make sure everything is sanitary, but there's always those problems. So there's a slight hint of urine in the air. In the front of the office, there is a round desk with an older woman sitting behind it. She is in a gray suit, very sort of stiff and formal, almost symmetrical, the way that she sits. And she shows no particular expression when you walk in, but she's obviously got her eye on you. You probably guess she's in her mid-60s.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to walk up to her. And assume she's the
How's your French?
My French is awful. I have 1% in French. So bonjour.
I can speak German.
Bonjour. And she says something to you in French, which you probably take as what do you want? What do you want?
English?
What are you here for?
Yes, mademoiselle. I am
not
Gunter Block. Oh,
you may call me Madame Royat.
Madame Royat. I try and sound it out with my accent. It's like my name is Gunter Block, and I am doing a documentary film on revolutionary inmates of the asylum, and I was wondering what I was referenced here to see if I could look up a inmate that would have been housed here. Yes.
Do you have an appointment?
No. Where are you the person we need to speak to get an appointment?
I am the receptionist. We are. She's a little flustered, but kind of angry flustered.
Yeah.
She says, "One moment," and she pushes a button on a telephone call machine, and she picks up the phone, and she says, "Yes, Dr. Duplass. Dr. Francois. Yes, there are some people here. They seem to be writing a book or something. If you wish, yes." She says, "Follow me, please."
Oh, thank you.
And she takes you down the hall. The place is pretty clean, sterile. You can smell bleach. You can smell ammonia. You also notice that there's nothing you could grab and stab somebody with.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
There's no decorations. There's nothing like that. She takes you to a door, and before she opens the door, she turns around to you. She says, "This is Dr. Francois Leroux. He is the new director. Please be brief. He is a busy man." She knocks and she opens the door. Dr. Leroux, these are the people that I told you about. Dr. Leroux, you've seen his picture. When you walk in, his office is mostly neat, okay? It's neat and well organized directly in front of you. To the side, there are a whole bunch of boxes that seem to have stuff in them. You can see that some of them are picture frames and things like that, probably from the previous doctor. He stands up. He says, "Thank you, Madame Ronya." And she leaves. Please have a seat. What can I do for you?
Oh, thank you, doctor. And I have a seat. My name is Gunter Block, and this is my associate, Dr. Dorian Dobrowski.
Yes, Dr. Dorian Dobrowski. I am doctor of psychology. Yes.
Oh, you're a doctor of psychology.
Yes.
Where did you study?
I studied in London.
In London?
Actually, yes, under my father, actually. He is no longer with us.
I see. Madame Ronya said something about you writing a book.
Well, not a book. We were making a film about about the history of the inmates that would have been housed here around the Revolutionary time, around the French Revolutionary time, and we were interested in maybe seeing some of the old documentation of these patients. No active patients, obviously.
So nothing on the current. You realize that the Charenton Asylum back then was quite a different place than it is today. Their practices were quite barbaric compared to our modern times.
Yeah, that's one of the things we were trying to highlight is how far we've come thanks to work by many dedicated doctors in the humane treatment of the mentally ill.
You're talking about late 1700s. I'm not honestly sure if we have records going back that. I'm sure that there are records. They'll be in the basement. You understand, I can't give you access to the rest of the asylum. I can't give you access to any modern records, and I can't allow you to film here.
Oh, okay.
There are people whose family members are in Charenton Asylum that would rather not let anybody know that. So.
Oh, I understand. How about if we could see the records? Just the records. I could take a picture and then maybe just when I piece the film together, just show the documents.
I don't care about any of the records that are over 100 years old. They're
excellent.
Meaningless. Just a moment. And he goes to the door and he goes, Mandarin. And an orderly comes over to him and he says, these gentlemen need access to the basement, where the records are kept. This is Paul Mandarin. You can he'll take you down there. I want you to stay with them, Paul, and make sure everything is that they don't wander off anywhere. And he looks back at you and he says, we've had a number of structural problems in the basement. Most of it is not used anymore except to store records. So there's part of the wings that are off limits for safety reasons.
Yeah, that's quite understandable.
Don't worry, we will be careful once we get this.
And thank you very much. And
yes,
my sympathies for the passing of the past director.
Dr. DePlus.
Quite sad to see.
Yes, rather tragic. Please, I'm a busy man, so please help yourself if that's what you're looking for.
Mercy.
So he dismisses you, and the orderly walks you down a hallway and down another hallway and through a door, and then there's some stairs descending. It's not like you're going through any special thing. There's just literally stone stairs, part of the building going down. There are doors on your right and doors on your left, like double doors. Okay. And the doors on your right, there is a chain around it. And you can see that there's been posted a sign, danger, something about structural damage, you think. And so he takes you through the other doors, walks you down another hallway. He has to turn on the lights. Obviously, people don't come down here very often. You find a room that's filled with records. The more recent ones are in filing cabinets, but there are a lot in cubbies on the wall that are just large sheaves of folded, records. He says, I think they are still more or less in chronological order. What were you looking for?
We were looking for around 1789 to 1793.
Yeah.
I know.
It's going to be at the bottom of the pile. Probably in this area over here somewhere.
Okay.
If you need any assistance, I'll be right here.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Gunther, let's get
So
to
he'll
this.
allow
This
you
might
to-
take a while.
No
I'll
time
allow
like
you
that.
to rummage around.
Okay.
Why don't you do a spot hidden? Actually, library roll.
Okay,
That would
good.
make more sense in this case.
51 out of 52, so I succeed just barely.
Good, because I did not.
After about an hour, you start to pull together a number of folders that all seem to represent maybe a 2-year time period right where you're located. And you think that you've started to eliminate this pile is later, this pile is earlier, stuff like that. So you think that you found pretty much everything there is. And we'll get back to you in a moment. Okay, so the four of you, you've procured a car to rent. You drive a number of miles along the Seine, and the funny thing is when you're driving, the roads are kind of like this going around. You're near the river. You eventually come into a small little town called Poissy, and it's quaint. There are the architecture is obviously from an earlier period. There is a large, imposing sort of looking church, and there are a number of public buildings as well. There's also a statue of a king, you're pretty sure, on horseback, with a plaque, and a little town square. That's where you park.
Love
Place
the
is-
town.
Yes, I was going to say quite charming. Far better than a dreary asylum, in my opinion.
Love the architecture.
Yes,
Hopefully
well,
we'll find the locals easier to deal with as well. Can anyone tell which is a town hall or some such?
It's fairly obvious. There'll be something that says town hall.
And I'm pretty fluent in French too, so I can.
Okay, well, that's. I was
Excellent,
about to
excellent.
ask if any of us spoke French because I do not.
I do not. Yes.
I
Teddy,
haven't put
be
it-
our man.
All right. So let's.
So what are we saying? We're doing some historical research regarding the.
I mean, we're
This is-
doing research regarding the Viscount. I mean,
Is
And
it genealogical? Is it?
It could also be on the estate itself, like an architectural. Yeah.
I think we're looking into people with outre taste, almost kind of a social deviance of the past. And
We might not wish to call them deviants if we want, however, to be connected to people who might be collectors.
that's a good point.
Maybe extravagant.
Yeah,
We
safer
could use-
language.
Yeah, exotic, eclectic.
Did we pass yet a antique shop in this? It's a picturesque town. Might have antique stores.
Yeah, do a luck roll.
What else is it for? That's good. 33.
Yeah, you just see something that looks like an antique shop.
Yeah, might be worth killing time in, especially if we have bureaucratic holdups. Yeah, so maybe only 2 go in. We don't look like such a mob.
Sure.
And ask if there's a record. And we know more than one spelling of the name, yes? And historically, they were funny about this. So Jean Navarre, Janvier. But
Is
a supposed Vicomte in 1789.
assuming that there is one central church, is it downtown here?
Yeah.
So whoever wants to go into the Hall of Records, I suggest maybe the other two go and check out the church just on outside ball chance. Maybe there's some records there.
It's interesting, yes. Church records were often more precise than official records in previous eras.
Well, I can go to the church.
I was thinking that as well.
I'll go to the Hall of Records, City
Then
Hall.
yes, we'll try. Then we'll try that.
Yeah, because there'll probably be more verbal exchange in City Hall.
Although I have a little French, if neither of you have any French.
I have no French, but I trust that the priest will be more fluent in other languages.
Yeah, I have. I mean,
Yeah, probably Latin will work.
I know Latin. I'm conversant in Latin, and
Same here.
I'm a Catholic upbringing, and Catholicism is big in France. So,
Well, I was raised Church of England, but yeah, let's I know Latin as well. So we'll do the church. You guys do the Hall of Records. We'll see what happens.
All right, just a quick look around. You can see a small cafe restaurant, which is attached to a small hotel called the Hotel de Rouen. There is an English apothecary, a pharmacy. There is a few other things like that. A grocery store with a plaque on it that says 1420, founded 1420. And what is the church? Church is the Collégiale Notre-Dame de Poissy, and that is 1130. It was built 1130 AD. It's old. All right, you come up to the church, and the doors are open. It's very beautiful inside, stained glass windows, a lot of fancy work. Not particularly huge. There are candles lit here and there, but you're guessing that the population here isn't quite as religious as they used to be, and there's less people, probably mostly women that come to church.
I don't find that, but I'm gonna linger a little outside the door.
Okay.
No, it's you might find this funny, Dr. York, for somebody who studies religion, to be a little hesitant to enter such a place. It's been years. It's been years since I've been to a church, and always get a funny feeling in the stomach.
I'll clap him on the shoulder. It's all right, old man. It's like getting your sea legs back. It'll come back to you. Yeah, just try to relax. And Edison will enter, and falling back on his very Catholic like Church of England upbringing, will give the same kind of respect and genuflections and hand gestures as he would if he was back at home. Sure. With the family doing Christmas services or Easter services, and go inside and look around, and I'll even light a candle and say a prayer and look to see if there is someone who seems to present themselves as the priest.
Well, before you see the priest, you're looking at all of the decorations, and there's a lot of commemorative, stained glass windows and stuff like that. You can see that they're prominently featured as King Louis the Ninth. Apparently, he was born here in Poissy, and he was famed for his fairness, and he was considered a great ruler. But he died of cholera in 1270 during the Eighth Crusade. And all of that seems to, play itself out in the stained glass windows and stuff as you're looking around. Eventually, you catch the eye of a priest. He is dressed very much like a Dominican monk. So he's in black and white with a hood. And he comes out and says something to you. And he says in French, may I help you? You seem to be, are you tourists?
Not understanding French, and I'll, look at Gabriel just to ensure that he did not catch that either. Then I'll say first in English, pardon me, Father, do you speak English? And then I will do my best to say the same phrase in Latin.
He says,
or similar phrase in Latin.
In English, he speaks a little bit of English. Latin, he does a bit better, just because they're still doing their mass in Latin.
Sure.
What can I help you with, my son?
Father, it's good to make your acquaintance. My name is Edison. This is my friend Gabriel, and we are visitors to Poissy. And it's interesting. We have heard tales of the Viscount, that his home was, it was a great tragedy, and his home was burned down in the 1700s, I believe 1789, and we found it very interesting and curious, and thought we would come and see if what we had read was true, and just found it interesting. Didn't know if the church had any records, if the Viscount was a member of the church, or
I
thought we would.
I must admit, I have no idea who you're talking about. The church used to have a great deal of records, but the records are all baptismal and birth and death and things like that. And most of those have been transferred now to City Hall. As far as property ownership, we don't have anything like that.
Would you have any, Father, would you have any records of ecclesiastical actions taken against such an individual? If he was a member of the church, based on what we've learned about him, there could have been, even as far as excommunication. Would you have any records?
You're talking about 1789. Unfortunately, at the time of the French Revolution, the church was in just as much trouble as the aristocracy. Most of the clergy were beheaded as well. And, we have a lot of fires occurred. This church survived because it's made mostly of stone, but it was looted a number of times, and we've only recovered these things back in the last 100 years or so. Once the church was reapproved, but we don't have any records like that I know of. Probably did at one time. It would be most likely something like that might find its way to the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris, but it wouldn't be here anymore.
Excellent suggestion. Yeah, so it was curious. We didn't know if there was any kind of the Viscount does come across as something of a villain, if you will, and it was interesting to we were just trying to discover if this was some sort of religious
I think
uprising.
everyone in the aristocracy was considered a villain back then.
Yes, quite.
And most of them, 30,000, had their heads chopped off. So I don't even know that there's records of everybody who had their heads chopped off.
I would guess so. That would be quite the
it was a bloodbath.
Well, Gabriel, we thank you for your time, Father. Thank you.
You have a lovely church here.
Enjoy your stay in Quasic.
And if there's a poor box, I'll donate to it.
There's always, yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the same thing. Doctor got to it first.
All right, so you step back out into the street. Did you all go into the church, or did some of you go to the town
No, we
hall?
split 2 and 2.
Okay. So who went to the town hall? Okay. So you're walking over to the town hall, but we're going to jump back to the other two really quick. All right. So you've been down here with Paul Mandrin, the orderly.
Mm-hmm.
You've isolated a number of folders. You've been going through them meticulously for, I'd say, maybe 20 minutes or so. You find you hone in on the time period. And when you get there, there is no mention whatsoever of anybody named Genovar, Vicomte Genovar.
Is there anyone that has a last name that just begins with the J?
No one that would match.
Okay. Yeah.
You've honed it down almost to a specific day, but there's no.
Yes.
It's possible. It's possible that it never got recorded.
Yeah, as was my next question. Does it look like, looking at the record, like, oh, look, this has obviously been either erased or removed, or more like they probably just never wrote it down if he was ever here?
Some people didn't get written down. Some people wanted to be hidden, especially in times when places like this, some people thought it was taboo, and devil's work. So some people would keep their names out of it, so documents might not be stored. Or could be under a different name completely.
Mandrin sort of chimes in. He says, back then, they got away with all sorts of things in the asylum. Who knows what happened?
Lots of awful things, I can imagine.
This was not only a place to come to be cured, but it was a place to have somebody disappear.
Like an ambulé, a place of forgetting. Tell me, was all this building here back at the time, or has it been added onto?
It has been added onto over the years. But even back then it was fairly large. This is the main building. This has always been here. The wings on the ends have been added, and the gardens and so forth. And of course, all of the practices of the doctors have gotten much more, how should we say, observed. Back in that day, they could pretty much, you could have somebody get away with murder. But there are problems even nowadays,
No, yeah.
There are always problems. Have you noticed any problems here at all?
Yes, I mean,
I know it happens. I have seen it firsthand.
Well,
Yeah.
how do I say this? People, this sort of an environment, it attracts a certain kind of person. And in fact, it attracts different kinds of people.
It doesn't.
I don't feel particularly comfortable speaking about this here. It's I'm an orderly. I don't intend to work here for the rest of my life. I intend to work here until I can transfer myself into a better place and get a better job. I'm not saying there's anything bad with working.
No.
You are safe to speak freely. We are not here to judge you, and we won't tell anyone.
I can think of one incident. I'll give you an example. Dr. Desplaces, who is recently passed away, he was the kind of man who was of a charitable heart. He thought that he could fix everyone's problems, and he was, for all his brilliance, he was a bit naive, a bit too Christian in his thinking. He didn't always check the backgrounds of the people he got to work for him. Which, in this kind of business, people who come to work here, they're sometimes desperate looking for work. They can't get employed in a regular place. One of our employees, Monsieur Adrien Guimard, don't repeat any of this, please.
Oh, no.
He worked here for a number of years. He was working here for a number of years. Dr. Desplaces, I don't know where he found him. I think he was employed mainly because he was a bit of a brute. Sometimes you need somebody with strong arms,
Yes,
as far as I know, he was a fairly good worker. I began to suspect something was odd because there were times when we worked together that I couldn't find him, especially working late in the evening.
He just disappeared.
Yeah, no, it's a big place. But
of course.
A few weeks ago, I went looking for him. It was the night shift. I had been traveling up and down the wards looking for him because I needed his assistant. And I couldn't find him. So I suspected the only place left would be down here in the basement.
Okay.
I came down. The lights were off. And when I went to turn on the lights, I almost tripped over him. He was lying on the floor. He had been injured. And he was taken up. He seemed to be completely deranged at this point. And we did an investigation shortly after that, and we began to realize that what he had been doing was he had been bringing some of the patients down here into the basement in the middle of the night and abusing them. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Yes, we found quite a bit of evidence that he had been, we think maybe even chasing them around in the dark and sexually abusing them, both men and women.
Yes.
And at this point, he was completely deranged. Dr. Desplaces placed him in one of the wards for observation. And he's there still. He's completely nuts.
He's still here.
Yeah, I think he can't be released. He's dangerous.
Well, he's not going to get released now.
But so things like that happen because, like I say, it attracts people like that.
Yes, and it does. It does happen, things like that. It has been quite common more recent years that it's stopped a bit when it used to, but it still happens. It's a horrible thing. Anything else weird at all? Not
I mean,
weird,
that's the
but
first thing
very
that comes to mind because it's fairly recent.
If you don't mind me asking, we saw in the paper that Dr. Duplass suffered an accident. What happened? Did he fall down the steps, or?
I don't know all the details of that. No. He was a big proponent of electroshock therapy, and I believe he was electrocuted.
Really? Here?
Yeah.
electrocuted.
Yes, playing. He fiddled with the equipment, I think.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't know all the details. That was something that I
Was anyone with him when he died? Do you know?
have no idea.
No idea. Do you know who would know? Not any of the orderlies who would know?
Well, the director, but I doubt seriously that he would discuss anything with anyone.
No.
He made a
Well,
statement in the newspaper.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
which
Yeah, it's curious. That would take a lot of amps to kill someone. You'd think that electroshock would have a safety feature, but
Yeah.
it happens.
I have
It does.
assisted with the electroshock, holding keeping the patient down. Sometimes it looks like it hurts.
It
Oh,
does,
yeah.
but it would take a lot, and there are ways that I can see it going wrong for him. But if he was with it, are you sure do you not know anyone who was regularly with him? An
I
orderly?
don't know. I heard in the morning when I came to work that he had died.
No.
That's an odd. That's very odd.
It is a
Freak
true
accident.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Well, I mean, even when you don't find something, you still have found something. As they say, we'll be able to document that. Hey, that how the records keeping has improved over time, even.
Well, if I'll give you my number if you want to talk sometime, but since you're writing a book.
Right. Yes. It would be very helpful.
So he gives you his number and stuff.
Just a quick
But
question.
please don't print my name.
No. Whoa.
A quick question for you. What do you think of the new director?
Well, Dr. LaRue, he's fine. He's a businessman. He's not like Dr. Duplass at all. Dr. Duplass was more, like I say,
People might like
much more personable, much more a very kind man. It's a shame that he had to pass away. I mean, even
what you want.
Even this thing with people like Guimard. I mean, I'm sure that Guimard was a broken individual, but he had compassion on him, and it backfired.
Yeah. Sadly,
Dr. LaRue is getting rid of all of his stuff. He sent most of his. There was a lot more stuff than before, and it was all sent to his family. Most of the things that he has left are just mostly throwaway stuff.
Understood. Yeah.
Knickknacks and things. But if there's nothing more, I can show you the way to the door.
As he's escorting us out, I'll ask him about the chained off room. I was like, so I mean, not an engineer, but is it sinking, or what's happening to the structure?
Well, a building like this does shift, and there are places in there where the walls are crumbling.
Interesting.
It might have been that Guimard was injured because he was fooling around down there and was hit. It seemed like he had been injured perhaps by falling rubble. There was rubble here and there, but I don't know. It's just considered unsafe until we have some structural engineers come out and make sure that everything is all right.
Yes.
They'll probably have to put in braces or something too.
Yeah, so would you want to try and keep this piece of history in one piece?
I'd like them to knock it all down and build us a new one.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
But then you would lose the essence of the place.
There are too many ghosts haunting the halls with
Yeah.
not pleasant.
There's always ghosts.
Anyways, let me show you out.
Okay.
And he shows you to the door. Anything else?
I'm going to.
Can't think of anything.
I find it odd, Gunter.
Yeah. I do too. I mean,
I assume you don't know a lot about electrotherapy, right, Gunter?
I know a lot. I'm good with electricity, but not electrotherapy. But that's why, I mean, it takes several amps to kill someone.
It does indeed, and the thing about electrotherapy is, on the person operating it, there are safety features. It is still experimental, but something would have to have gone very wrong for it to have killed him. It could be, I don't know, it's odd.
Yeah.
Odd indeed.
I know. Maybe it's just me, but that Adrian Guillermo, his abusing patients down in the basement, it reminds me a little of that Jean Aver, the Viscount. Didn't they say that he abused or was hedonistic and possibly sadistic down in the basement of his mansion?
Yes, from what I have been told. But thing is, again, it happens, right? Things like that happen in the asylum. I have, again, I haven't. I've had stories from my father, but most cases they tend to abuse them in confinements.
Yeah.
Some people have a place. I don't. But why would you go to somewhere which is known to be unstable? I don't know.
Not one to be seen, but
Risk,
Frosty,
I guess. Risk.
Do you have a role you could make for that? Psychology or?
I do have psychology, yeah.
What's your role for that?
So I'm using a dice roller tonight. It's taking a little while. I'm going to spend 4 luck to succeed.
Okay. It's usually a progression. Somebody like that might abuse patients in their rooms, like you say. The problem is that nothing the patients say is believed. So, and the patients will accuse people of doing that just because they don't want to take their pills or whatever. So it becomes kind of a vicious cycle, and then it escalates, and he starts to realize, well, I can take them down into the basement and play a game of hide and seek and rape, and nobody's going to believe them that anything has happened. They're nuts. And they are deranged. They end up getting, if they get caught, they get thrown in, charged in the asylum.
yeah.
I guess it's the same with anything. Killing as well, it starts off small.
Let's jump back to Poissy now. So you've gone to the Hall of Records. And that's Theodore and Dr. Roland. Okay. You go into the Hall of Records. There's a young man who's smiling, and he's running the place. And he says, oui, monsieur, what can I do to help you?
Oh, bonjour, comment allez-vous? Me parle Teddy, and this is Dr. Cruz.
And he introduces himself as Jean-Louis Lafay.
Pleasure to meet you, Jean-Louis.
What can I do for you?
We are doing some research on eccentric people, characters from history, eclectic personalities that have made impact. And we had come here in search for information on this particular estate, and actually maybe even a particular individual, Dr. Curse. Do you recall that individual's?
Yes, we have several spellings of the name because we are speaking of the late 18th century now. So, as you know, spelling is inconsistent, and this individual lived in Germany, we believe, as well as in France.
But pre-revolution.
Just before the revolution, yes. And he was supposed to be a minor noble, a vicomte, named Janvier or Geneviève.
Give me the spelling.
Yes, I'll give you a few versions.
Well, if he was a vicomte at the time, would have had a fairly substantial property. There's not too many of those in town. Let me check their records. I'll see what I can find.
Merci.
We should have all of the records from all of the, going back almost to the late Middle Ages.
Yes, it's a beautiful old city you have.
Oh, it's very, very old. Lots of history. You should talk to the priest. He can tell you a lot about the king and the history and
Beautiful.
things, things like that. Give me a moment. Please have a seat. There's coffee.
Oh, wonderful. Even better. I'll help myself to a cup of coffee.
And he's gone for about 15 or so minutes. And eventually he comes back with a couple of, a piece of paper. And he says, I found a record. The only thing I could find, it's a blueprint, so to speak, of the property in question, which is 6 Enclos de la Abier, which is not too far from here. This is 1712 Chez Genevard. It looks like there is a block wall fence going around the property and a rather large building. Now, this is old. I don't know if it still stands or not, or if the property's been divided up.
We understand that there was a fire before the revolution.
Been fires in many houses. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very impressive.
It's beautiful
design. Is it very near a monastery historically or currently?
I believe there is there was an old monastery, an old convent near here. That was, I don't recall the name, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, very interesting. But you believe this plan is for the original construction, not he didn't build on top of the.
Yeah.
Are there any records of ownership?
Well, this is you said Genevard. This is the only one that I can find.
Oh.
But if you in town, if you go down this street here, about half a mile, you'll get to that particular street, and it should be right along there somewhere.
That's fantastic. We began this research at the Bibliothèque Nationale. Do you also have local records of newspapers and things? We are curious to learn more about this fire and if there were any other victims.
Well, we don't have anything from 17
No.
89. Those kind of records would be at the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris.
Yes. And are you a local fellow?
Oui. Yes,
Sorry?
yes,
So there's no local tale about this Jean Navarre and his wicked deeds.
until today, I never heard of him.
Apparently, before the revolution, he was very notorious here in Poissy. Great parties, extravagant decadence.
Well, that was the very impetus of the revolution.
Yes, indeed, in part.
What did you say? Let them eat cake.
That is the saying attributed to the poor German princess, queen. Well, thank you very much, Jean-Louis. Maybe we will talk to this priest as you suggest. But I'll be curious. I'll try to make, of course, a little sketch of I saw some of the structures and the rough shape.
He can make you a mimeographed copy.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
A little photostat in case we see
For 2 francs or whatever.
2 francs.
Yeah, very good.
2 francs. That's extortion. Robbery. There's the.
Right. So it's off to the city square. It's off to the car.
Yeah.
To meet the fellows.
Yeah.
So we have rough directions this way.
Yeah.
There we go.
We can say that just for the sake of the way the universe is, that as you guys all converge back at your car, maybe you're going to have a little lunch at the cafe in the hotel. And as you're doing that, Dorian and Gunter arrive.
They were coming to Poissy?
Yeah.
After their excursion. It only
'Cause they
took
were
them
just-
like a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had met at Remy. We met Remy in the morning, so we don't need to meet him that afternoon.
And we'll fudge the time a little just so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Plus, we're really enjoying the lunch there. It's the delicious food, beautiful countryside.
Get a beer.
All right.
Get beer.
France.
No prohibition. Yes.
Well,
So you guys are all at the time.
So we have a copy of the foundation of the place. It was known, but they don't know anything here about it.
that's about what we found at the asylum. They didn't know about it. Didn't know about him. The records had no documentation on him.
Yeah, it was something odd for what I thought. But we found out Duplass, the one who died in a tragic accident, it involved electrotherapy.
Interesting.
He was experimenting on himself.
No, well, I don't know. I didn't say specifics. It was to do with him using it. But if he was using it on a patient, it would take a lot to cause a backfire on him. If he was experimenting on himself, however, maybe, but you wouldn't do it by yourself. And why would you do it on yourself? Electrotherapy, it's experimental and dangerous. I do not believe in it myself.
I was actually being facetious. I would rather do a number of dangerous things before I put electric paddles on my own person. And as a rule, I find that when I see someone's death as described as a tragic accident with no further information, I am always suspicious of whether they're hiding a suicide, homicide, or egregious misuse.
Yeah.
Yes, and the people in charge, they seem to have gone from a very people person, someone who was a bit oblivious to certain things and wouldn't pay attention too much to the staff. He brings on to someone who's very business-minded, it's gone from one extreme to the other in terms of who's in charge of the place. I don't know, something didn't feel right to me about that place.
Well, I think as far as our Viscount is concerned, I think somebody in the 18th century was misled when they said he was put there at all. I mean, perhaps the police were told he was being taken to the asylum, and really he was brought into Paris, murdered, and dumped into the catacombs.
That's my thought of what happened. That was the story, and
Could be, but also we did discuss it at the asylum. Some people were taken there and no records were kept. It was a different time back then. The rules weren't kept, especially in asylum.
I mean, we have an account from this Dr. Lucien Rigaud, who says that he dumped Jean Aubert's body into the catacombs in 1789. Which in June 1789, and it was June 1789 that the officer said that the Viscount was being brought to the asylum, but that was in Poissy.
Yeah.
I'd say that was here, and Paris is, quite a distance away, and
18th century travel. Yeah, so we have somebody who may have offended someone in royalty. With his sexual peccadillos, to say the least. We have someone who throws great dangerous parties that offend and entice different people. Maybe this authority who was perfectly willing to set fire to the house, but didn't have the authority because of his the Vicomte's rank to execute him. They stick him in Charenton for a little while, say, don't write anything down. Maybe they torture him there. And then finally this quite indignant doctor finishes the Vicomte off and ditches the corpse.
Yeah.
So
I would say a bit more than just offended some people with some of the equipment and visual accounts of what they saw in the cellar. That looked quite extreme.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was possibly the offense, as Roland has pointed out. I mean, offense to the king himself, the offense that brought the investigation to his doorstep in the first place. I mean, they never would have found those horrific things in his basement if they were never sent there. And I think they were sent there out of
indignation, spite, jealousy, all of the above. Yeah. It seems the way the parties are described, there would be many angry family members, husbands, fathers, and others who would like to see such infamy disrupted. Although, of course, again, we don't know. I'm still half convinced that other people were killed in the fire.
Yeah, could be. And now we know where the place is. So it'd be quite interesting to see its current state after all this time. Has it been turned into a restored park, or is it privately owned? Or we did not find out if it was privately owned currently, or if it's still a ruin, or just part incorporated into a park.
Well, we'll just go by and check it out. I mean, that seems like the easiest.
My guess is there's now a turnip farmer there who doesn't know that his turnips are cursed.
Yeah.
All right. So you enjoy a pleasant lunch. You come outside. The weather's turned a little chilly this afternoon. There are clouds in the skies. It's not sunny. But you've suspected that there might be snow in the next day or so, or who knows. You walk down the street. It's a quaint village. It's very pretty. You see a few people on the street, a few people shopping, not very many cars. You travel about a half mile down the road, and now you're in where there's mostly homes. And some of the homes are bigger, some are smaller. You turn onto the street in question and you walk down, and I'd like you to do a spot hidden.
Everyone.
Yeah, sure. Because you're all kind of looking.
73 is no good.
Regular.
All right. So for those of you who aren't paying attention, it's a road, there's houses, there's trees here and there, there's fields off in the distance. For those of you who are paying attention, you suddenly realize that you're noticing a kind of a pattern. There's a wall over here on the right-hand side of you. It looks like it's white stucco. It's about 8 or 9 feet high, and then there are occasional, I don't know what you call them, like the pilasters, marking out bits of the wall. They're fairly far apart. And you can see that there are thorny vines growing all over them, which you're pretty sure are roses, though they're not in bloom at this time of year. And you don't notice anything unusual at first, but after a bit, you realize it's going on and on and on, and that this must be a very large estate. You did see that there was a block wall all the way around the estate. As you move forward, you see that there is a place where at some point in the past, there was a gate. There are still wrought iron pillars on either side of the gate, but the gate itself seems to be missing. There's a drive going in, and there is a sign that says 6 enclos de l'Abbaye Poissy. And in French, it says something along the lines of Office of Dr. Christian Lorien, MD. You look into the property, and you're almost dead sure that this is the property. But when you sort of step a little ways in, what you see is a less formal garden. There is definitely like a little place where a little fountain used to be, that there's just like a flower garden with no flowers. There are trees that have been planted around, and the house, though it's a pretty little house, it's a little house. It's not a grand mansion that's sitting there. And you can sort of glimpse that there's like a vegetable garden behind it and stuff like that as you're looking. And quite a bit smaller, still a 2-story house, but nowhere near the big gigantic mansion that was here before.
What was the name of the doctor mentioned again?
Christian Lorien.
Christian Lorien.
MD. And as you are standing there peeking in.
Well, we're driving.
Oh, I thought you just walked. It was just down the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As you look inside the gate, you hear at first, off in the distance a ways, a little clip, clip sound, clip, clip like this. And about that time, as you've sort of poked your head in to see the property, there's a gentleman over amongst the rose bushes, and he is carefully pruning them and making a little pile. He's dressed in like a white jumper, and he's got a little pair of clippers, and he's clipping. You can see that the roses extend all the way around the perimeter of the whole property. Big bush roses. Of course, nothing's blooming at this time of year, and he's trimming them back. He notices you. Hello. Do you have an emergency?
Bonjour.
So he's speaking in French?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, bonjour.
Do you have an emergency? Parlez-vous français?
A little bit. We are here. Went recently to the city hall to look up some of these classic estates that have been in the vicinity, and this was a noted one from back in the late 1700s. And we were really hoping just to see just a little bit from the outside. It's of quite note. It'd be
he says, I see. Well, this is I believe this house was built in the 1800s. He says, please, come inside. I'm Dr. Christian Lorien.
Oh,
He said, forgive me, I've been doing some yard work.
And I'm translating all of this, of course.
He has a big bushy mustache.
I appreciate a professional man who does his own gardening.
He says, yes, we tried to keep it up. It doesn't look like much now, but in the springtime, it's quite spectacular.
Tell him we don't wish to intrude, but we are curious if he knows about the history of the property. He seems kind of benign. Ask him if there's torture devices in the cellar. No, maybe he speaks English. Never mind.
I've been working for a couple of hours. I probably smell. Would you like to come inside and see? We can have some tea or
if
coffee.
It wouldn't be too much of an inconvenience, it would be most wonderful if you would. We're very appreciative of this.
Certainly. Please follow me. Come inside. I was aware that there was a previous larger house here before ours was built. I do a lot of gardening. I run across old nails, old square nails, and all sorts of things, bits and baubles and things like that. But I don't believe any of the original house remains. And he steps up onto the porch. You can see he uses this as a professional office. And as you step inside, there's a place for you to put your coats and your hats and stuff like that. And you can see that towards the left is his doctor's office, and towards the right is the private residence.
Okay.
And he calls out, Veronique, we have guests. Bring some tea, por favor. I'm speaking Spanish.
Speak in my language now.
Merci.
Dr. York will poke his head into the office area, just kind of admiring and looking around, seeing what kind of journals or latest editions of medical texts that may be on display, and through Teddy, if need be, I'll introduce myself also as a physician.
He is a general physician. He doesn't get a lot because a lot of people don't, just people who have accidents and people who get hurt down and stuff like that. That's why he usually, when people show up, it's an emergency. So that's what he thought you were there for. His place is what you'd expect from a country doctor. There's a table. There's a place where you can, examine somebody, and there's scales, and I don't know, maybe he's got a anatomical skeleton in the corner you see in movies.
Regardless of what it looks like, I'll very nice. Yes, yeah.
And he has his license displayed on the wall.
Is there, out of curiosity, from the historical significance of the place that this was built over, or have you run into any foundational cornerstones, perhaps, throughout the property?
Not really. A few bricks here and there, and not much other than that. Please, excuse me. My wife Veronique will come in and bring you some tea. And, let me go clean up. I'm filthy.
Thank you, merci.
So he dismisses himself, and After a few moments, his wife comes in, followed by a little girl. And Veronique, she says, she gives you your tea or coffee. This is my daughter, Kitari. She's 7. She's 7. She's a typical little girl. She's giggly. She's not shy, probably because Daddy has a lot of clients that, she's used to being around other people.
Right. I get out my deck of cards and maybe do a little card trick for her.
She does not speak any English, though. You've gotten the Dr. Lorient does. He seems very highly educated. What brings you to our neighborhood? She says. Veronique says.
Oh, we're doing some research on some old houses of the aristocracy before the revolution, and there was some that were in this town that we were doing a little research in.
I don't think our house goes back that far, but it was a property before.
Yeah.
In our researches, there's some indication that the prior estate was burned down. So it's unsurprising that this is not the original house.
We do occasionally find like bits of charcoal and burned wood and things like that in the ground when we're digging. We didn't plant all of the roses. The roses around the edge, the vining roses, were here when we moved in. We've since added a lot of tea roses and more colorful and fragrant ones. The yard is very beautiful in the spring and summer. Eventually, Dr. Christian comes back. She's having a conversation with you. Dr. Neruda, do a luck roll. I'm not luck, a spot hidden.
Ooh, a 17. That is a hard success. I don't pay attention outside, but I pay attention inside.
Madame Veronique, she's very friendly, very personable. You see they have bookcases, so she's showing you the books. They also have a record player, and you notice she has quite a collection of opera records. And once you get her started, she goes on and on about Caterina Cavallaro, just a brilliant soprano. My husband, Dr. Lorient, took me to a concert last year, and we heard her sing. It's just absolutely beautiful. She says, later I can play you some of the music if you'd like.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Wonderful.
So the doctor eventually returns and sees you. I'm much more presentable now. You were saying about the house. I don't know that I found anything valuable on the property. What sort of things are you looking for?
Well, we were just trying to find anything that we could really about its occupant. Just rather an interesting person.
We had heard about I believe it was a fire that destroyed the original structure. Very interesting. I suppose, I guess it's possible that the fire even destroyed everything from the from the cellar, presuming that there is a cellar.
We don't have a cellar.
Oh, find that very interesting.
Was there a cellar originally?
For some indications of a basement of the old property. Is there no basement of the new house, or
Nothing in the new house? No. I wonder if it could be there buried. The ground.
Perhaps you found nothing of value on the property yet. Who knows what might be under our feet?
He looks over at his old wife and says, treasure hunt, maybe.
Yes, I wouldn't suggest that you undermine your current foundations, but the building that was constructed here in 1712 was owned by a nobleman.
Nobleman of
I think of varied heritage. Actually, it was his name is not always spelled the same way, but at this house he was called Jean Navarre, a vicomte.
a vicomte.
Yeah, of some ill repute, who from here after the fire went to Charenton, and whose records are largely impossible to locate. A very mysterious figure. So there could be a puddle of gold from his fixtures that ended up underneath this house.
You say, could he have been German?
Yes, I think he might have been of German or Alsatian extraction originally.
He looks over at his wife. She doesn't really know why he's looking at her, but what is it exactly you're looking for?
Exactly is hard for us to say. He is believed to have had, among many other interesting objects, I'm sure, I guess a Oriental religious idol of some form, possibly constructed in Constantinople.
A statue.
Precisely, Doctor.
I'm sorry, what were your last names? Are any of you Wellington?
Wellington? No, none of us are. I don't believe I know a Wellington.
I received a letter a while back. Just a moment. Let me go see if I can find it.
Kind of you.
And he leaves. Meanwhile, Kitari is doing what a lot of little kids do. They've fixated on somebody. Let's see who. On the Gunter, because he had the cards and stuff. And she's a very handsy-on girl, She wants to climb up into your lap. She's giggling. You're showing her the cards and all this. It's a much more innocent time when people didn't freak out about stuff like that. There's a moment when she's going to sort of hop off of your lap when she suddenly, you sort of are helping her down. Right. She sort of cries out and winces as if she's suddenly in pain. She cries and she grabs her left arm and she mommy, like this. And her mom, she runs over to her mom and she says, "What is it, Kitari?" And she says, "My arm hurts, my arm." And she sort of looks at it, and you can see, Dr. Edison, you can see immediately there is a kind of a red rash that she's got on her arm. It doesn't look fresh. It looks like something she's had for a while.
Yeah, I want to Papa, Dr. Lorien has stepped away, right?
Yes, he's run upstairs really quick.
Yeah, so when he's since he is not immediately present. I want to gently, tenderly, kind of soothe the mother and say, no, it's okay. Let me take a look as best I can, bridging a language gap, and see if I want to examine her arm and see if I can gain any information from this examination.
Do a medical roll.
OMG. I have amazing medical, and yet I failed that roll. Nearly a fumble. I really want this info though. So I will spend the 15 luck in order to be successful.
All right.
Ow.
You examine her arm, and from in your knowledge of physiology, your knowledge of taking a look at it, at first it presents itself as a kind of a rash, as if she's been exposed to some sort of plant that irritates the skin. But when you very gently press on it, you're almost guessing that something's wrong with the underlying muscle, like it's somewhat deteriorated or it's atrophying, and it's causing her a great deal of pain. But there's no shrinkage, there's no direct damage that you can see involved in her arm. You can probably also smell or tell that Dr. Lorien has been treating it perhaps with something topical to bring down the inflammation. Okay. So it's not something new.
And she didn't have it bandaged or covered, or
it's not covered or bandaged. Right?
Okay. I'll take a handkerchief and lightly wrap it around it, and so it doesn't, it's not too tight. It's not, causing any additional harm, but just to cover it, and then tell the little girl that everything's going to be fine. You're just fine. And then Dr. Lorien went upstairs.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can hear his footsteps moving around.
So just like he's still looking, or does it sound like he's returning?
It sounds like he's on his way back. Yeah.
Okay. I want to meet him at the base of the stairs.
Okay. So what you're actually doing is you're stepping out into the hall, in between the living, and then the stairs are right there. So as he's coming downstairs, he's holding a piece of paper like this, and he says, yes, I wanted to show this to you.
Yes, but doctor, first, if I may, your daughter, her arm, she was just complaining about it. I hope not to overstep your bounds, but I took a look at it and it does not look good. I think she needs to see, get greater attention and care. Have you considered taking her to Paris?
Yes, I've been trying to treat it myself with what I know. We thought at first she was just sleeping on it wrong, and it seems to be slightly progressing. We think it might have a lot to do with the weather as well. My own arthritis and my wife's.
I'm sure that's what it is, but based upon what I saw, I think you might want to get another opinion in Paris.
Well, you probably have a more exposure if you come from the city. You're from America.
England, yes.
You're from England.
London, yes. You can tell from my southern accent.
I'll certainly consider that I should probably take her to see somebody more professional.
Yes, I don't want to alarm you or your wife, but I think it is something that you should probably do today.
Oh, well, I'll have to make an appointment.
I'm sure they will see you.
I don't think that it's an emergency status at this point, but I understand. But thank you for your concern. Anyways, he kind of brings you back into the other room with him, and he says, I received this a while back. He hands it to Dr. Roland. I didn't think anything of it. I put it aside, and but from some of the things you say, it seems to make some sense.
Yes. To whom it may concern, I realize that I'm a complete stranger and that this letter may well mean nothing to you. My name is Edgar Ellington, and I am researching the history of an old statue known to scholars as the Sedefkar Simulacrum. Recently, I came into possession of an old Byzantine scroll which presents an intriguing description of the item. This piqued my interest, and I am now endeavoring to trace the provenance. My searches led me to your property address. The name is probably meaningless to you, but through my researches, I have learned that the last recorded resting place of this objet d'art was in the manor that once occupied your land in the late 18th century. The statue was a unique Arabian artifact lost during the French Revolution of 1789. Its last owner was a German nobleman who once lived where you live today. Therefore, I would like to politely ask if you have heard any local stories regarding this item, or maybe found any traces of the old house and its possessions on your property, which might give a clue as to the eventual fate of the object. Would you be so kind as to write to me with a summary of the information? I apologize for the rather strange nature of my request, but I feel that I should pursue whatever leads remain to me. I hope that you will not go to any great trouble regarding this. Yours most sincerely, Edgar Wellington, 50 Rue Auberge, Lausanne, Switzerland. Wellington.
How very, very strange. Perhaps there's buried treasure here somewhere after all.
Maybe.
There's also perhaps there's danger, although this is something we shall perhaps discuss more privately. But the fellow who it is indeed precisely the object described here that we have come in search of. And the scholar in London who put us on this trail was himself. Perhaps, Madame, we could have a bit more tea.
Oui, monsieur. My pleasure.
You were very kind.
She leaves. Kittery follows her out.
Yeah.
I lean over privately to whisper amongst whoever's closest to our group. What do you think about offering a fair sum in francs on behalf of the university to do just a couple minor probing digs, not invasive around his property?
It's too high profile, let's say. If there's other people who have this lead and they know this property, if we are associated with a dig, I mean, that's a major operation. It's going to be hard to remain undetected by, I think, people who wish us harm.
Well, I'm not saying do full-on excavation.
Are you saying this in front of Doctor?
No, just whoever's quietly off to the side.
Now that I've got Veronique out of the room, I'm quietly trying to explain to the doctor that Smythe was attacked, and that's why we're concerned. And that way they can mutter amongst themselves.
How valuable is this object?
It's I don't know if it's much of a matter of value. I'm a theosophist. I study religion, and with the religious associations of this object, it may be that whoever attacked Smythe did it from a place of religious extremism. if that makes sense. Not necessarily out of
it sounds to me like what you really
value.
want is to put it in the museum rather than allow some petty crooks or criminals to get their hands on it.
Exactly.
I'm very happy with my practice, and me and my wife and my daughter live rather comfortably, and we don't need a great many things. We have what we need, and we don't really want for anything. But if there is something interesting buried on the property, I think that might be a lot of fun, seeing if we can find it. We don't need to advertise. And if it's this statue that you're looking for, then as long as you're putting it into a museum or something, then I don't really have any problem.
The university community would be interested in this and could also, make it worth your.
I'm a big fan of the artifacts in museums. That's where they belong, especially something that you say is important, Arabian. That's very interesting.
Very much like to see it find its proper place in the world. Yes.
What if I made you this proposal? You could stay here. We've gotten a couple of extra guest rooms, or you could stay in town. The hotel's quite nice. And come back in the morning and we can, I'm digging in the garden all the time.
Oh.
Unfortunately, our companion here, and I'll kind of pat Dorian on the shoulder. He has lots of experience digging around places.
Ah, well,
I do indeed. I am a professor of archaeology after all. It would be pretty bad if I did not have the knowledge.
This letter, I received this, like I say, a while back. Nobody's ever come inquiring about anything since then.
And you did not write this Wellington back because you?
I didn't. In fact, I completely forgot about it until you mentioned something about a German.
How long ago did you receive the letter?
Yeah, precisely.
I think it might have been 6 weeks ago.
I'll be very curious to see if there's actually an Edgar Wellington at this address.
In Lausanne, he seems very polite. The letter seemed very polite, but he didn't seem overly concerned with it. Just if I by chance ran across it, I suppose he thought that I'd say, oh yes, it's in my living room, sitting on my mantelpiece.
Well,
Thank you.
I think we would very much appreciate your hospitality. Thank you for the offer.
It sounds quite exciting.
I'll go fetch the car and bring it so it's parked here as well.
I think I have room for maybe 3 or 4 of you, unless you really want to double up in the bed.
We had a very nice supper at the hotel, and our expenses have been somewhat remunerated. So I think
it's only half a mile. So
yes, we should all make ourselves comfortable.
So perhaps the 2 doctors can stay here. Well, the 3 doctors. Well,
Too many doctors.
4 doctors.
Which specialties are you interested in?
Yeah.
Dr. Neruda. My wife was very much interested in playing some music for you, Dr. Neruda. Dr. Addison, you are a medical man, so you might be quite comfortable here.
Dr. Lorraine, you have, I think, quite a garden, but I think you keep no animals. Is that correct?
No animals.
So you have no firearms about the place?
Firearms? No, I don't.
Yeah, a shotgun for some.
My wife won't allow me to have a gun in the house.
I'm sort of a jack of all trade. Maybe Dr. Dorian, if you wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to. I could double bunk with you if that's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. You can double bunk, Teddy.
Yeah.
Oh, I was planning to stay at the hotel and don't want to no need for all of us to double bunk here unless.
No, indeed. But you and I can go and have a schnapps and talk things over as well.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you could stay for dinner.
Oh, you were very kind, with no notice at all.
My wife loves to cook.
We would be honored.
So what we can say is that you're going to stay for dinner, and that 3 of you are going to stay here, and 3 are going to go back to the hotel.
4 of us, me and
4 of
Teddy
us.
are going to double.
You and Teddy
Me
are
and
going to
Teddy.
double bunk.
Yeah.
And Dr. Edison and Dr. Neruda are going to stay here. And
Yep.
Dr. Roland and Gunter are going to go back to the hotel.
Yep.
All right. That makes sense. And that's where we'll cut it off for tonight. Excellent. As Riley would say. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, David Gassaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, Josh Harwood, and John Hook, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastery. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.